Hello again, guys. It is Freeze700. We are back with some Valiant Salvor, Chapter 3, Kithslayer. Now, let's resume the story. So, Chapter 3, here we go.
You are all here, either chosen or taken, and now your new life lays ahead of you. There are two choices you all have.
The middle figure spoke, his armor far more decorated than the rest of his company. He points to the far left corner of the cathedral.
Live life with all your needs being met, in exchange for labor, a self-rewarding life of little worries.
He turns his head towards the crowd.
Or stay and suffer the hardships of little rewards in order to be us.
Endura and his people from the Thunderhawk didn't budge, as they were given a different speech about being slaves or being warriors. What this man was saying was different, and his demeanor was that of a snake. As much as Endura hated to admit it, the figure that killed his father was honest, and maybe, Endura thought, maybe he isn't the bad man in all this. Despite the fact that Endura had stayed still, Jorg gazed around, taking in the faces of people around him as they all conversed with each other, deciding if they should take up this man's offer.
Choose now, or your choice will be chosen for you,
one of the figures demanded impatiently. Another moment of silence and confusion swept through the crowd of kids. Jorg breaks the silence. We were told something different, that we would be warriors or be slaves, remember? This can't be the choice we choose. I'm staying here. Endura broke his silence. No longer can he stand not being heard. It's up to you. Either fight and die or do stupid tasks mindlessly, and Endura held his mouth shut, flexing his jaws as to stop him from going on in a tangent of anger that this is even up for debate. He must be strong. That's his priority right now. Strength will be his guide. No lax mother, no foolish father stand in his way. He will be strong enough to never feel loss ever again. The crowd started to shift and move, some navigating towards the left corner of the room, others moving closer to the speaker, taking up the challenge or feeling obligated to, as to blend in with the crowd of their peers. Parast, another boy from the tribe, spoke, scared as what to do.
I don't know, guys. Are we really strong enough for them? These boys are pretty big.
Parast was the youngest of the lot, only 7 years old. No muscular development, just a skinny kid with next to no fat on his body. Shh, they might hear you. Let's just get by the best we can. There's gotta be someone here that can help us if we look weak enough, said one of the child soldiers of the king's army. His name was Numid.
I miss my family,
one of the girls cried. The other two girls left of the tribe walked over, coddling her and crying, and sharing their tears with her. Endura's mind filled with sadness, as if he wanted to join in on their loss, but that sadness only struck a chord again in his mind. Sitting here, wallowing, won't make him strong. He needed to turn that sorrow into hatred, and fast, if he was going to gain strength to carry on. His armor was growing heavier and heavier by the moment, his face still full of dirt and his knuckles covered in dry blood, his eyes stinging from the lack of tears. He was tired, but had to go on. He knew that despite surrounded by a tribe, he was not safe. He needed to find a time to rest, and that time was not now.
Good. The idiots have left.
The figure started to smile.
I am the company commander here, and I will be watching you all in the series of tests we will be doing to see if you are Space Marine material. And then even more tests to see if you are Marine Malevolent material. Off now, each of these Marines will be taking you all into groups, and they will be your initiators. Please them, and you please me.
A loud thud came as all the Marines took a step forward, surrounding the children on all sides. Each child was to be in a group that would be tutored and tested by one of the Marines. The 460 children all stayed in their respective groups. None dared break away from those they were familiar with, something the Marines had counted on. This would be an excellent way to test loyalty and strength. Endura's group shimmies over to the side where a small group of 14 kids are standing next to a very battle-scarred individual. He had parts of his armor mismatching, like as if every piece belonged to a different set of armor. His Vox wasn't working either, so the voice the kids heard was his real voice. Scratchy, like as if it was drier than sand, like when wind erodes stone. It was grinding.
Guess this is what I have to work with,
He muttered.
This way in this square over here.
He led the children on to a platform that once the children stepped on, it started to lower.
I will tell you my name when you've earned it. Got it, slaves?
Endura's face contorted, confused and mad.
Yeah, be mad. That'll help you in the coming test, slave.
The platform reached a stop. Stepping off the platform, they entered a well-lit room, easily big enough to be considered an arena in its own right. The platform rose up, gone in the darkness above. At the front of the room was a small platform with what looked like a small stone table. The smooth metal floors here was brass in color, but clearly was stronger than that. The 38 kids took a look around, straying from the center of their group. Endura, too tired, just followed the initiator to his massive stone seat. The stone slab that Endura thought was for a table, not for sitting. The Marine Malevolent sighs, leans forward in his chair, one hand on his knee, his arm resting on his lap.
Strip. You all have not earned the right to wear armor. And weapons, that must be earned.
All the kids stripped, Endura undoing the ties of his bronze pauldrons and shin guards, letting everything fall off of him. The other kids looking around nervous. Why they have to strip, but also scared of being publicly shamed in front of the group.
Show me what you got,
the Marine said, not geared towards anyone, and even more confusing as no one knew what he meant. Everyone's faces turned towards each other, confused, whispering to another about his request. What is it they had to offer?
Show me what you got.
His voice getting more impatient, this time pointing his head at the one child he knew was filled with anger. The child who was brimming with hatred but too exhausted to carry on. Endura looked puzzled but intrigued. What does he mean? Unless he wants me to show him my fighting skills, as that's all I was taught in the village. That is all I know is to fight. Endura's thoughts stopped right then, and as he glared into the Marine's eyes, he knew the Marine wanted to see the children fight, to judge their fighting skills, to see who's strongest. Endura clenched his fist, tightened his jaws, looked at Parast, the youngest of the kids, who stood on Endura's left side. Endura took an angled step towards Parast, his right fist in the air swiping towards Parast. Endura's right foot gets off the ground to add more momentum to the swing. In less than a second, the right fist connects to Parast's mouth, caught completely unaware. All the kids are shocked. Jorg is the most shocked out of them all. These were his people fighting each other. But more importantly, this was the youngest boy being attacked by one of the elders. And it was not a simple fight. It was a beating. Endura would not let Parast gain himself. Endura jumped on top of him, bashing his face further and further. A chipped tooth flew out of Parast's mouth. Once that piece landed on the floor, it turned into a brawl. All the kids started sizing each other and lunging at one another. Jorg stands back in shock at the sight, not knowing what to do, not knowing if he can summon the strength to fight one of his own. They are supposed to be in this together. Hey, stop, guys! Jorg desperately cried. One of the child soldiers came rushing at Jorg. Good thing for Jorg, as he has no love for this boy. But still, his mind was elsewhere, trying to save his friends and family, his kith, from one another. The Marine slouched back in his chair, his eyes focused, staring hard at the children, studying them all. Endura caught his eye first, as he was not giving up or lessening his blows on the poor child below him. The Marine knew that the kid is dead if the beatings go on for another 2 minutes. A fact that didn't bother him, but made him more proud of the young boy doing the beating. Some screams could be heard. That was the girls of the group hoping that a white knight would come help them, or shield their eyes from the brutality of this melee. The Marine heard their screams and ushered a sign at the end of the room. 4 grown men came in shackles forward. All the fighting had stopped upon hearing the chains rumbling on the floor. All the boys looked at these strangers as they approached.
Take the women away. Use them before the slaves get to them if you wish.
Thank you, master. The men looked at the underage girls with wet lips and hungry looks in their eyes. The boys of the tribe jumped up in anger, no longer fighting each other but now mentally engaged to fight these 4 grown slaves that had nothing but raping intentions for their sisters.
I didn't say stop. Some of you fight weakly. Get back to it.
I will not let you abuse our girls, Yorg screamed, leading the group to protect the 3 girls. Parast, still laying on the floor, lifeless. Endura staring at his work while this exchange is going on.
Slaves, beat them.
The slaves pulled out clubs of iron. This already made the rest of the boys back up. Being unfamiliar with the black metal, they did know what metal does to bare skin, and being naked didn't help their situation. The 4 slaves grabbed the girls and pulled them from the main group, jabbing the boys if they get too close. Each jab was enough to draw blood and knock the kid on the floor. Yorg had tears rolling down his eyes, but hate filling his facial expressions. I'll kill you all if you hurt them.
Then continue fighting and you might be that strong one day.
Endura finally stops gazing at the mangled head of Parast, the brown tufts of hair sticking out of his bloody broken skull. His eyes sunken in his head as bits of brain stuck out. His body contracting as a final impulse of the brain before being reduced to mush. All Endura could think was, I'm a Kithslayer. Poor Parast. Why did he have to be so close to me? Why did he have to be so damn weak to not survive my punches? Why are my people so weak? How can I ever be strong if I come from these people? These Marines Malevolent are right. My tribe was weak. My father, my mother, weak. I am weak. I must become a Marine Malevolent. I must bring strength to this tribe. It's the least I can do. Endura turned towards the Marine sitting in the stone chair. He gazes into this hardened veteran eyes of the Marines Malevolent.
Continue fighting. I need to see your limits.
Endura turned towards a child soldier. This boy was easily bigger than him, but not nearly as defined as Endura. This boy had a small pudge of a belly and weak, skinny arms. Clearly never lived a rough life. Endura would weed him out next. He would crush the weakness in the group. He must salvage anything of worth of his past life. And to do so is to clear out the current cancer of weakness in the group. Alright guys, that is it for Chapter 3. I hope you guys enjoyed. It has been a fun time doing this. As I said, there's going to be a lot of child death. There's going to be a lot of interesting dilemmas that are going to develop in later chapters. So I hope you guys enjoy.